Version 4.4 is here. We have gotten to get a better experience of the Elation path. We have seen multiple characters released for it, we've seen the MC form released for it, and we are likely to see many more characters come out soon. But that doesn't change the fact that this has been our first experience with the Elation path, and now I feel like we have had enough time to kind of experience the characters, how it works, what sort of bosses it's brought into the game, to have a proper conversation about the path at large. I did this with Mono Rem when it was still new, and I feel like it's only fair to do that for Elation, give my thoughts about it, and kind of tell you guys if my opinions changed from when the path was initially revealed. I'm sure many of you know, the community at large was not happy about it, and I especially was not happy about it. So, we are going to be talking about all of that stuff today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, become a YouTube member down below, and let's get into it.
Thank you to OperaGX for sponsoring this video. No matter how you look at it, your browser matters. Doing research on character kits, watching endgame showcases, or even planning out your next temple. You need a good browser to help you out. That's where OperaGX comes in. Opera has everything you could need to improve your experience using the internet. For example, their free built-in VPN and ad blocker. Taking a look at Netflix here, maybe something I want to watch isn't available in the US. Well, let's switch to Europe real quick, and bam, new options you just can't get otherwise. There's also the GX mod feature. This can completely customize your browser experience, from sounds, to themes, to wallpapers, all while having countless options from your favorite games. I really love Acheron, so I found this awesome wallpaper to use, and then I downloaded background music from one of my favorite games. Super easy to do, and I love the result. Lastly, you can even pop out whatever you're watching and take it on the move. Simple as pressing the button on the top of the screen, and now I can still watch my video while continuing my work. I get using a new browser can be scary, but with the quick import tool, switching to Opera is a breeze. Go to the gear icon, click synchronization, and you can import your bookmarks and settings from there. It's quick and easy, and gets you into using Opera ASAP. If you like the sound of any of this, you can use my link below to download OperaGX today. Thanks again to Opera for sponsoring. Now, let's get back into the video.
The first character we are going to talk about today is of course going to be the first Elation character to be released, Yao Guang. So Yao Guang, I've always said this about her when I have talked about her as of late. People were shitting on her so much. Everybody thought this character was going to be bad. Everybody thought this character was a complete waste of time. It's crazy because she had no characters to actually run with when she was initially released. So as a result of that, everybody was immediately writing her off. I will still never understand that. Then there was all the arguments about, oh, what if she's just Sunday 2.0? Like, you know, what if, oh, it's supposed to be the new best support for this exact archetype, and then it ends up being the best support for exactly who whole characters is who Sunday was actually built for. All those fears with Yao Guang were so prevalent in the community. People had such a bad, like, I guess choice paralysis. I don't know. I guess that's the way to put it. And it is so ridiculous looking back, because I screamed this at the top of my lungs. It was so obvious that Yao Guang was not going to be the same as Sunday. She was built with a pivotal mechanic that affected the entirety of the path extremely well, because aha instants are a key part of the experience for Elation. Whereas your summon getting advanced, yeah, that can be good, but at the same time, if you could already make do without it, it was so obvious that this would not be the same. Aha instants are such a pivotal part of the gameplay experience for Elation teams. And while yes, Sunday was kinda made to be, this is gonna be the ultimate character for anybody with a summon, the thing is though, is that Yao Guang's ability to trigger an aha instant and to buff Elation, it just had a very different form of usefulness to the teams at large. And again, this is a little bit of hindsight bias, and I understand that because we didn't know that Castress was gonna blow up her damn dragon constantly, so the summon advance would be useless. And then the same thing for Evernight, and then we don't even talk about Cyrene being a support. That was also cooked. I understand that it is a little bit of hindsight bias, but I also don't see how people expected the character who seemed to be like the best possible support for a path, who was also out for an entire version, who released first so that you could get her for all of these other characters, who they also showed Sparksy running with constantly in all of the promotional material. I do not understand how this character was something that many people genuinely thought, yeah, this seems like a skip-worthy character. I don't think they're gonna be that good, or they're just gonna get replaced by EMC. What are we doing here? So yeah, so Yao Guang has had it rough ever since she came out. It's really, really unwarranted, I feel, but regardless, she has ended up being a very, very powerful character and a very good character for Elation as a whole. She may not fit in many other scenarios, but she is absolutely essential to the game plan of these Elation DPS characters. You cannot have a sufficiently running Elation team without her. It is simply not possible. Yeah, you can technically substitute with enough Eidolons, but why would you get enough Eidolons when you can just have Yao Guang and your team is gonna run at the same efficiency, if not better? Like, how would that work? I have really ended up enjoying how she works, and it is a very simplistic playstyle. She is a support that does not take much. You really do just start battle with your skill, then you basic a few times, and then you press your ult whenever you need to get punchline for the rest of your team, or whenever it is optimal to apply debuffs to the enemy, and that's about it. It is a very simple cycle, but it works extremely, extremely well. Yao Guang, pretty good character overall. I have quite enjoyed her, and it's just good to see that she is getting more respect as of late. We love to see it. Next up, we are going to talk about the first Elation DPS to be released, Sparksy. Now, Sparksy, she has ended up as a very, very good sub-DPS option for Elation teams. However, in terms of main DPS capabilities, she definitely isn't as high there. She's still pretty good. She is still pretty good in that role. However, Silverwolf and Evanessia just blow her out of the water completely. You really, really do need Eidolons on Sparksy to make it possible to actually succeed with her, and even then, the best overall team you can do is going to be a sustainless team with Sparksy, because you put Sparkle on there, obviously, you need those extra skill points, but then if you want an additional AHA instant per cycle, you kind of need EMC, and EMC doesn't really offer that much to Sparksy in my opinion. I don't know if that's a wrong take, but I really do not think that he offers much in that scenario. So now you're kind of just in a rough position overall, and you're losing out on the value that you would be having if you just ran her alongside preferably Silverwolf. But even then, I've seen Evanessia and Sparksy run together. That one was crazy. Regardless, this is a character who, while she is not the absolute best in this archetype, she does still have a lot of strength, and she is fairly good at what she does. She is a phenomenal sub-DPS character alongside Silverwolf, being able to use up all of those skill points to do massive damage with really absolutely no downside. She assists Silverwolf, she does a bunch of damage still, and she can still be a very good part of your team. There's really no complaining here if you have that optimal setup for Sparksy. She's also a pretty unique character in how she works, with multiple unique mechanics belonging to her specifically. She is able to enhance her basic attack to unrealistic levels. She has a light cone that increases your skill points instead of it being built into base kit, which is pretty interesting. She can get 2 punchline points and 2 skill points when she upgrades that basic attack, which is absolutely insane. She is a massive punchline generator, which, as we all know, is incredibly helpful for all of the Elation characters. They love punchline, and she can actually fit in with the other Elation characters no matter what. She has a trace that ends up benefiting her more based on the amount of Elation characters. Sparksy as a whole, while maybe not the most impressive character, she is still pretty solid, and I've already talked about this. You can in fact make her your main DPS if you are willing to commit to her and invest in her and her team a lot. It is going to take probably twice the level of investment as any of the other Elation characters. However, it is fully possible, and you can still get that usefulness out of her if you are willing to put in the effort. It's a pretty nice thing, and I am glad to see that the people who really love Sparkle and Sparksy, they get such a massive benefit out of this update specifically. I am not one of those people, but hey, you guys have fun. Now we arrive at Evanessia and Silverwolf. I always talk about these characters together, and I am going to continue that today because they just straight up released 2 very good main DPS characters together in the same update, and they can both be the centerpiece of your Elation team. That is unbelievable. I don't think Star Rail has ever done this before, where they just straight up gave you 2 options for a main DPS character for a specific archetype of team in the exact same update. Like, obviously, you can look at Break. Break has ended up with 3 different main DPS characters, and the way Break worked is that they just gave you all supports early on, so that way you could run whoever you wanted. That was pretty cool for Break. I didn't think we would ever really see that again, because even in the case of Mono Rem, yes, Castris and Evernight can both be main DPSs, but Evernight is very much meant to run alongside Castris for that ideal team up. That is not the case here. You can just have Evanessia be your main carry and succeed, or you can have Silverwolf be your main carry and succeed. It is genuinely a pretty insane thing to see, and I don't know, I'm honestly pretty content with it. I didn't think I would like the idea at first, but neither of the characters really got shafted an insane amount. Both of them are still performing very well. They both have very good vertical investment. You can make both these characters absolutely insane by investing into them or their teams. There really isn't much to complain about here. While yes, I thought that Evanessia would be a little bit better, Silverwolf is performing unbelievably well still. People are complaining on Twitter. Those people don't know how to play the game. Don't listen to them. Those people do not know how to play the game. If your Silverwolf is underperforming, make sure you have Yao Guang first. I know that's a big issue. So realistically, both these characters are doing incredibly, and it is pretty awesome to see. I am very, very happy about this. Now, I wouldn't want to see this type of planning for banners too often, because I feel like it's just going to put a lot of that unnecessary pressure on people. It's going to scare them into thinking maybe they got the poor option. And also, realistically, I don't think Star Rail is ever going to do as good of a job as they did with Evanessia and Silverwolf in the same banner. I don't think they're ever going to do as good of a job again at that. I think there's going to be one character who is significantly stronger, or who ends up becoming significantly stronger, and one character who gets left in the dust of very, very big amount. Right now, we haven't seen that for these characters, and that's really awesome, but I just don't have that much faith going into this for the future. So I hope they don't end up doing this too often. Overall, these 2 characters are just really, really fun, and they feel like the epitome of Elation now that you have those main DPSs. The way the teams feel is honestly incredibly fun and incredibly fluid. You see constantly just the aha instance being triggered. You're constantly getting big damage numbers, and the fluidity for both teams is honestly super impressive. You have the Silverwolf basic attack. It ends up helping out the rest of the team. Then you can end up with Sparksy getting to use all of those skill points and doing absolutely massive damage to the enemies, which is really good. Yao Guang doesn't really ever have to worry. She can just keep basic attacking and skilling. It ends up just being this constant onslaught of damage. And comparatively then to Evanessia teams, you are getting the EMC increase, you're getting the ult to get an additional Elation skill to build up your punchline, your certified bangers even more. Then you're getting the aha instant from Yao Guang, you're getting the Master Fox vulnerability, and then you can hit the big ult to do just absolutely massive damage to your enemies. The way this all works out is honestly very impressive, and considering how much of an ADHD nightmare Elation teams looked like early on, I'm honestly impressed that it has felt like they've become so fluid, so kind of just fun to watch go. It is honestly a very nice experience. I really do love these 2 characters, and especially Evanessia, like I've mentioned in the past, so it is very nice to see that things have worked out so well as of right now, at least for the people who were very much excited about all of these characters and about Elation in general. As for how the whole thing works out in the meta, yeah, we'll get to that. The last character we're going to talk about is, of course, the Trailblazer of Elation. This is actually the character I have the biggest issue with, no shocker there. This character is unbelievably mediocre. I'm just gonna be honest, this character really is not the most impressive. I really do like EMC, at least because they serve a good purpose in the Evanessia teams, and I do think the animations are cool. I like the lightsaber, I like the ult. I think they have a lot of just, you know, the usual Trailblazer swagger to the kit. The kit just isn't that good. This is the most replaceable character in the world, and you might think I'm over exaggerating on that, but I'm really not. A lot of Evanessia players have been able to just substitute in another support and still see extremely similar results as EMC. I've seen E1 Robin work really well. I've seen E1 Tribby work really well. Of course, Sparkle works really, really well. I've seen Sunday do super well with this team. That was really interesting. Just quite honestly, there isn't any sort of substance to this character that is going to make them have a lot of longevity going forward. The moment a better support is released, EMC is cooked. Like, they already don't have a place in Silverwolf teams. It is only in Evanessia teams. They are a substitute in Silverwolf teams. Like, they can sub in for Sparksy, which is good, but that's about it. This is really not the best, unfortunately. I don't know. I really wish they did more with EMC. It would have been really, really nice. And I understand that they couldn't because this is a character who has to adhere to the specific path. It isn't like RMC where you can just give the true damage, you can give the action advance to everybody. It's not the same. But going from RMC to EMC is such a massive downgrade, and I really thought it would get better over time. And I do think EMC is usable. EMC is decent for what he is, but this is a character that it's going to be what people thought Yao Guang was going to be. There is no longevity with EMC at all. It just depends on if they feel like releasing a better support or not, because the moment they do, EMC is probably getting shafted just almost immediately. And that is very unfortunate to see. Sorry, EMC. All right, so now we can move on to Elation in the meta overall and how they have done. And there was a bit of a conversation going on a while ago about what archetype had the absolute worst shield bosses. This argument got a lot of people involved, and I considered making a whole video about it, but just recently I made a boss video, which you should go watch, and you kind of got a little bit of a glimpse about what my feelings would have been. Compared in those Twitter posts constantly were break bosses, mono rem bosses, and then the new Elation bosses. If we look at the worst bosses of each of these, it is wild how far ahead mono rem and Elation are. Like, what's the worst boss for break? It is probably like the Judge of Oblivion, that big ugly head dude, or it is going to be Dark Sam. Both of these enemies are in fact beatable with many other teams. Like, you can do Archer on it, you can do DOT on it, you can do, I don't know, like probably follow up on it. These other teams are fully capable of beating a lot of the break bosses. It just won't be fun. And you know what? That's okay. That's just how the game works. Then let's look at Elation and Mono Rem. Mono Rem has Pollux. That boss fight is still one of the most miserable to ever be released into Star Rail, and it is not close. If you do not have Hyacinth, you don't get to play the game. That's just how that fight goes, and it sucks. It is not enjoyable to watch at all. It's crazy. That fight is absolutely miserable, and I really thought nothing they would ever do could top that as an experience, and then they released Mecha Pom Pom.
Flashback.
I want your head on Nikador's pipe. This boss is just awful.
End of flashback.
Looking at the other bosses that are kind of like Elation centric, Full Wish, not that bad. Okay, I will say Sparksy does kind of suck if you do not have very specific characters. Like, I just kind of cheese her with break and that's it, I win. Ashvale was not doing super well against Sparksy. I know that was how a lot of players felt, so I get it. And then Mono Rem, their strength is fighting together, and getting separated does kind of suck for that. So yeah, Sparksy is still not the best for players, but people were also cheesing her with Archer, so hey, could also still be worse. Mecha Pom Pom, oh my god, that boss fight is the most horrid thing they have ever done. I hate this boss so much. I spent over 2 hours trying to 3-star that bitch Firefly. It was like an 8 or 9 cost break team trying to get rid of that dude, and it took over 2 hours. It has such a heavy focus on Elation-centric mechanics. You need punchline generation to make that boss possible. Otherwise, you are not going to have a fun time. You are completely reliant on your mini Pommy and destroying the enemy Pommies. And they only get summoned so often to reduce the damage, and they only get summoned so often to actually reduce this dude's damage reduction. So if they do not come out, and if you take a little bit to kill them, you are just wasting so much damage and so much time is the big thing. That boss literally just sits there, waits, and then it shoots you for like 50% of your health, if not more. It is so annoying. It is such a miserable boss fight. And realistically, Elation-centric bosses and the Elation meta as a whole really wasn't doing too badly until Mecha Pom Pom came out. And even after, again, Full Wish. Full Wish was not that bad. Full Wish kind of fucked over any traditional supports a little bit, which was really, really annoying. But still, Mecha Pom Pom in comparison is just such a bad boss fight, and it is the fight that the most feels like you really need Elation or you're just not gonna have fun. Either that or you need like a highly invested break team to make that fight even remotely possible. That is horrible design. That is just not enjoyable at all. It is not good. That has been the absolute peak of the Elation meta. That was so miserable as an experience, man. Overall, Elation, I don't think they've had too tight a leash of the game so far. Like, realistically, it has not been nearly as awful as I felt like it was going to be. Even with the newest boss to come out, which was Graphia, Graphia honestly wasn't that bad. Like, Graphia really wasn't awful. It is a hard fight. I'm just gonna say that. It is a hard fight, but it is also not completely reliant on Elation mechanics. You can play it with Mono Rem, you can play it with Elation, you can play it with Archer, you can play it with Acheron and Blade. You actually have quite a few options to deal with Graphia. It's a hard fight, but it is not an unfair fight, I guess I would say. So the Elation meta overall has really not been all over the place. It was just that one experience, whereas Mono Rem giving us Eligas, Alux, and then we also got the Judge of Oblivion, who wasn't even a Mono Rem fight. We needed DHPT specifically for that. All of those, just back to back to back, those were unbelievably rough. And I really don't think the Elation meta has stacked up to that point of horrendousness yet. And you know what? That's why we're doing this kind of midway review, is because things can still change. Things can still change from where they were. And by the end of version 4.x, I could be back here saying Elation meta was the worst thing to ever happen because they released Danny Phantom into the game and then he just one-shots your characters if they don't have punchline. You know, they could do anything like that and it would be miserable, but I don't think that's going to be the case, at least as of right now. We'll have to see, but my overall feelings on Elation have improved quite a bit, honestly. I still am not happy that they released a new path when I feel like Remembrance was so half-baked. But quite frankly, I honestly feel like Elation has already done a better job of having an identity than Mono Rem did. Just quite frankly, I already feel like they've done a better job. They knew that they were about a mono path. They knew that that was the end goal, and they committed to it, and they got you to it unbelievably fast. Within 3 updates, you had everything you need for your Elation team, and now you just invest in them, you just keep going. Honestly, that is already so much better than what Mono Rem was doing. The experience with Elation as a whole, as a path, while still not the best, is being handled much better, and I feel like they did actually learn from the experience of Amphorius and of Mono Remembrance and of all that negative energy and negative publicity that they got for it, deservedly so. So I can only hope that this actual positive behavior will continue. And yes, it's still only so positive when they're releasing all the best characters for each other back to back to back, but you kind of get what I'm saying. This was, in fact, a good step in the right direction, and I honestly think the path experience has been nowhere near as bad, which is super nice. You have a lot of other options in the game right now that are extremely strong to still actually fight against the specific shill meta, which is super awesome. And you know what? I'm honestly pretty happy with that. The game could be in a far worse spot, and, you know, the Twitter grifters, all the rage baiters, they're not going to have you believe that. This game is in a pretty good spot right now, and Elation is in a good spot right now, and I'm pretty happy about that. All right, that's going to wrap me up for today. I think I got everything talked about that I wanted to. It was a little nonsensical, but hey, that's what editors are for, right? Haha. So, I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts. I'm curious to hear yours in the comments below, like always, and yeah, I've got plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I will see you guys then. Bye-bye!